Hey guys, Daniel Reason from HowToMen here, and today we are going to be taking a quick look at the LG G3, so let's begin this video. Alright, so let's take a quick look inside the boxes of the device. So the first thing we see is the G3 itself, and I must say that this device is surprisingly not that big for the giant 5.5 inch display which it has. We can attribute this to the small bezels that it has. Next thing we see in the box would be a SIM card, which I can toss to the side because I wasn't going to be using. And then we run into the manual, which once again, no one really reads, so it's kind of useless. But once you're past the manual, you get the power brick and the charging cable. I found the power brick to be quite big, honestly, compared to some that I've had for previous devices. But the charging cable was just a standard micro USB. And then you got to the battery of the device, which is of the 3100 milliamp hour battery size. So that's all you get in the box, guys. So let's get on with the first impressions. On the inside of the device, we see a slot for the micro SD, and right under that goes the micro SIM. But there's not much else to see there, so let's put the battery in and boot up the device. I did notice that you have to be very careful when putting the cover on because sometimes it's not snapped in all the way and is slightly open when you put the battery in. So the first thing you see when you boot up and I take off all the plastic from the screen is the T-Mobile screen after the LG splash from the bootloader. So let's just wait for the device to finish booting up and let's compare it to some other devices we have here. So when we compare the device to the Nexus 5, we can see that the LG G3 is not that much bigger and the design language is very similar due to the fact that they are both LG devices. Both devices have a very thin bezel, but the G3 has its headphone port on the bottom and the buttons on the back, which make it that much different from the Nexus 5. Also, the material used is much nicer on the G3 in my opinion than on the Nexus 5. So when we take a look at the UI, we notice that it is very different from stock Android and still very reminiscent of TouchWiz, which one can find on Samsung devices. LG seems to have adopted a flat UI layout with decent looking icons and a very intriguing lock screen. The device also comes pre-installed with some T-Mobile bloat, which unfortunately includes a lookout that cannot be removed. Another interesting thing about the UI is LG's choice in a sense-like multitasking screen that in my opinion is very ugly and very counterproductive, but they seem to have mixed it with TouchWiz's clear all button to make a very odd multitasking area. They also have opted for the split screen multitasking window, which is just like Samsung's and seemingly very gimmicky and not of much use. In the multitasking screen, you can slide towards the right to get rid of applications, which also seems very unnatural and very counterproductive. Something beautiful about the UI, however, is the ability of each app to customize the color of the status bar. So when you go into the settings, you get a blue status bar, and when you go into other apps, you get the color that matches the app. This is very interesting and it's very beautiful looking. However, this doesn't quite translate well into every app because some of them are missing, such as the Google ones. And obviously the camera doesn't have this, for obvious reasons, but I must say that LG's camera UI is very simplistic and very good looking. Another TouchWiz-like feature in the UI would be the status bar. The quick toggles are almost identical to the ones that Samsung has provided since way before AOSP Google quick toggles. These quick toggles are scrollable and customizable, however, and they are easy to access. While this is nice, I prefer Google's approach, which does not take away space from my notification tray. Other than the design choices, LG's quick toggles have a wide variety of choices, which is very good for the user. However, one thing I did notice is that there is no option for the flashlight to be quickly enabled. This is a bummer because it is a feature that I use quite a bit. When comparing the UI's response, I noticed that LG has done a great job optimizing their UI considering how much higher the PPI is. due to the display being of higher resolution than that of the 1080p display found in most devices, including my Nexus 5. The phone opens up every app very quickly and does things just as fast. When loading up web pages on the same network, I realized that the devices perform basically identically. Any speed differences are basically negligible, and I wasn't able to force any lag onto either of the devices. So that is a good sign for those of you looking to buy this device for performance. I assume running games would run just as smoothly as it has on any other device that is modern and has one of the new Snapdragon processors. I put the device through its paces by loading a heavy website, which it did just fine with, and after scrolling and zooming around, I noticed that it did not stutter one bit and it was doing just fine. I then went to go on the ESPN website to see that the load speed was once again identical to that of the Nexus 5, and that the device renders the website with much ease and without any lag. And the scrolling was once again, just as it was before, fantastic without any stuttering. So I guess that browsing won't be an issue on this device whatsoever. I was, however, unable to play any games due to the device not having connection to the Play Store. But from what I can tell, the device should run just fine as any other Android device that you've had that is high-end. From there, I decided to test the speakers on the device by watching a YouTube video in which I noticed the LG G3 has a significantly louder speaker than my Nexus 5. The sound is clear and not distorted at all, as you guys can see.
Don't stop. Don't look back. Run for your life. They're coming. Just remember how good the purge does. Rated R.
Announcing the commencement of the annual purge. All crime, including murder, will be legal. Your government thanks you for your participation.
We're stuck outside on purge night. What are we gonna do? Don't stop. Don't look back. Run for your life.
I decided that I wanted to try out both keyboards, and I noticed that the LG G3 has a decent autocorrect algorithm that isn't always very accurate, however makes for a decent typing experience. I did notice, however, that the G3 had a dedicated number row, which is very handy and makes things a lot faster when you are typing. Other than that, there is not much of a difference, as they both have swipe and access to emojis, making them very similar. I decided to go around my house and take a couple of pictures with the LG G3 camera. I noticed that it took fantastic photos and videos. I took pictures in very lit areas and then in some low lit areas, and they both turned out very well. The photo quality is very nice, especially in low light without a flash. The laser autofocus works exceptionally well and has an awesome response time. The features that the camera brings are very unique, and the dual camera feature, which is also found on Samsung devices, is present and is one of the features that I did miss from my S4. My final thoughts on the G3 are very positive. While the software might take some getting used to and LG skin is not as clean as stock Android, the hardware is magnificent and the overall feel of the device while holding it is very positive. The screen is gorgeous and the device is very fast. I would definitely recommend it to anyone considering an Android device in the upcoming months. That is all for today, guys. Remember to give this video a thumbs up, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Until next time, kapow!